Thank you for visiting the Alabama Department of Environmental Management's website. Thank you, too, for taking the time to visit the Compliance Assistance section. Today we are going to discuss air pollution controls. You may contact the Air Division at 334-271-7861 or by airmail at adem.alabama.gov. The Air Division has composed a top 10 list of ways to help you achieve consistent compliance. We're going to look at several points during this short but informative presentation. We will begin with air permits. You might have a general air permit, we call those yellow permits, the cover page is yellow. You may have a synthetic minor operating permit, or you may have a major source operating permit, a Title V permit. Regardless of the type of permit you hold, you will find this presentation to be helpful. This presentation will also be helpful to individuals that may have questions about whether or not they are in compliance with air pollution control regulations. We will first look at air permits for new facilities and modifications at existing facilities. Then we'll talk just for a moment about authorizations. Once you get your permit, you still have steps that you must take. We will look at emission limits, emissions testing. We will also examine monitoring, record keeping, and reporting. And then finally, we will look at open burning and demolition, along with Stage 1 requirements in the petroleum market. Air permits. Remember, do not build or modify without proper application. This could apply for new sources, a whole new facility. This could apply to existing sources that want to add a new process, or existing sources that simply want to add just a couple of pieces of new equipment. Before you begin construction, submit the proper applications. The best way to start would really be to contact your Air Division contact to find out exactly what you need to submit and what the requirements will be before you can begin construction. So this applies for both new and existing sources. Operation without proper authorization. I cannot say this enough. To read your air permit. You may be the responsible official, or you may be the environmental and safety person at a facility, or you may be the person that is responsible for record keeping. Read the air permit. You would be surprised how informative it really can be, especially if you are responsible for being in compliance with that permit. So upon completion of construction of a permitted source, a certification that you've constructed that equipment in the way that you said you would in your application has to be submitted to the department, to the Air Division. And then we will issue to you a temporary authorization to operate. This will allow time for you to get the process running the way that you want it to be running, and for us to observe it operate without problems, and for you to finally then conduct your emissions testing that may be required. Failure to meet emission limits, stack test, opacity. Emission limits established in your permits are usually going to require some type of stack testing to demonstrate that you are in compliance. What do you think might be the most common reason that a facility would fail a stack test? Well, it's right there on the slide for you. Insufficient maintenance, failure to maintain the air pollution control equipment, or failure to maintain some part of the process itself that causes more emissions to go to the control device than the control device can handle. Failure to maintain is the biggest issue we usually see. Failure to monitor. Many sources have requirements in their permits to monitor the operations, the emissions, and to record this information. Looking here at our slide, many sources required by their permit to monitor parameters, perform stack test observations, and this is how they demonstrate, how you would demonstrate that the emission source is operating within its emission limits. A failure of monitoring equipment for an extended period or the failure to perform those observations can result in a violation. Be sure to read your air permit so that you're aware of the regulations to which your facility is subject and the monitoring that is required by the permit and by your regulations. Failure to maintain records. Most permits require that at least some records, certain records, be kept, and this will be a demonstration to your peers in the industry and to the public that you are in compliance. Not maintaining those records as required by your permit may constitute a violation. And anytime you start talking about a violation, you should also be thinking that that could also include a monetary penalty down the road. Failure to self-report. Permits usually have a requirement that violations or exceedances be reported to the department, to the Air Division, within a certain time frame. If you do not report as required, this can be an add-on violation to the original exceedance. Again, be sure to read your air permit and be familiar with the regulations to which your facility is subject. Failure to submit reports. Permits and the regulations to which your facility is subject often require some type of reporting. It might be quarterly, semi-annual, or annual reporting, and often certification of those reports. If you fail to submit those reports on time, this may constitute a violation. Again, I cannot say it enough. Read your air permit. You will find this very informative for all aspects of remaining in compliance. Open burning is one of the most common violations that we see. This might be at a permitted facility, but often too we see open burning in violation of our regulations at non-permitted sources, even on the property of individuals as well. It's also important to note that there is a burn ban from May 1st through October 31st for several counties in Alabama. Those counties are Baldwin, DeKalb, Etowah, Jefferson, Lawrence, Madison, Mobile, Montgomery, Morgan, Shelby, Russell, and Talladega. If you are not in one of those counties, however, please do not think that you can simply open burn anything you would like to burn. There are strict regulations for burning as a disposal method. So you would need to contact your permit writer, inspector, your Air Division contact if you're a permitted facility, or call the Air Division at the number listed on the first slide of this presentation if you have questions about open burning. Asbestos. Most demolition requires an inspection so that you can be sure that asbestos is not present, and this requirement is so often overlooked. If there's any demolition to be done at your facility, please get an inspection to be sure that there's not an asbestos requirement there. You can contact the Air Division directly regarding asbestos at the number indicated here on the slide. Our final point, loading and unloading gasoline without an air sticker or vapor recovery. Gasoline tank trucks, gasoline tankers, are required to have valid ADEM or Jefferson County air stickers in order to load or unload gasoline in Alabama. They are required to utilize the vapor balance equipment when they are loading or unloading gasoline. Loading gasoline would occur at a gasoline terminal. Unloading would occur at a gas station. There are also bulk plants that are in between the station and the terminal that are sometimes utilized for deliveries to smaller accounts such as farmers or logging companies and other industries of that nature. Failure to utilize the vapor recovery is a violation of air division regulations, whether it's at the terminal or at a gas station or at a bulk plant. Thank you again for taking the time to visit the Compliance Assistance section of the 8M webpage. If you have any questions, remember to call your Air Division contact. This is your permit writer, your inspector, they're the same person. They will be able to answer questions regarding your specific permit or application. If you do not know who you should call, feel free to call the General Air Division number 334-271-7861 or send an email to airmail@adem.alabama.gov. Remember, remaining in compliance is protective of human health and the environment. Thank you.